And as the Russia-Ukraine war shifts gears and becomes more deadly, Moscow is planning for the future. Russia is not slowing down, it's shifting into overdrive, in fact. As a Western support surges for Ukraine, Moscow has been building more missiles, faster than ever before. Our next report exploring if this is a prelude to firepower on a scale that Europe has not seen in decades.
The skies over Ukraine are lit. Missiles are screaming across the night sky. Bombs and drones are raining down. Every passing day, the attacks are becoming more and more intense. Caliber missiles have already been pounding Ukrainian energy hubs, while hypersonic Russian missiles are turning NATO-supplied weapons to dust. But the Russian arsenal isn't depleting. Ukraine now says Russia holds stockpiles of 700 ballistic missiles. According to Ukrainian military intelligence, Russia has increased its ballistic missile production by a massive 66% over the past year. Currently, 60 to 70 Iskander-M and 10 to 15 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles are rolling out of Russian factories every month, and that's just the start. According to US intelligence estimates, by 2035, Russia plans to manufacture 5,000 cruise missiles and 1,000 hypersonic weapons, including Avangard glide vehicles, Zircon sea-launched hypersonics, and the air-launched Kinzhal. The same report also points out that Moscow plans to have 5,000 cruise missiles. Presently, Russian forces have anywhere between 300 to 600 missiles. Experts say Russia is preparing for a long war and possibly a larger one, with Ukraine striking deep inside Russian territory, including attacks on strategic air bases. Sensing the dangers, Russia is stockpiling smart, mobile, high-impact weapons. Russia is not alone. From Europe to the US, every nation is spending heavily on weaponry. Worldwide military expenditure saw its steepest rise in 2024 since the end of the Cold War, reaching $2.7 trillion as wars and rising tensions drove up spending.
In the case of Europe, the main drivers of its surge was, I guess, the war in Ukraine in the short term, but also the security concern posed by Russia in the long term. So we saw that in the start of the war, not only did Russia and Ukraine both continue to increase spending, but many of the ambitious announcements by European governments since the start of the war really start to materialize.
Now the spike in Russia's indigenous weapon manufacture comes despite the fact that Western nations have imposed all kinds of sanctions to stifle Moscow's war chest. But under President Putin, the Kremlin has created a new kind of supply chain, which Western experts say ranged from North Korea to Iran and even China. But that's not all. New long-range unmanned aerial systems and next-gen air defense missiles are being tested and deployed. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
A fiercely contested Scottish by-election has ended in a dramatic victory for Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour Party in a much-needed political boost after months of falling support. Labour's Davy Russell won the seat of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse in the Scottish Parliament, narrowly defeating the Scottish National Party. Despite a low media profile during the campaign, Russell secured 8,559 votes ahead of the SNP's 7,957, while Reform UK finished third with 7,088.
Has also sent a message to Farage and his mob tonight. The poison of reform isn't us, it isn't Scotland, and we don't want your division here.
The by-election was triggered by the death of a veteran SNP leader, Christina McKelvey, who held the seat since 2011. But the contest quickly escalated, becoming a flashpoint. Reform UK leader drew widespread condemnation, repeatedly referencing the ethnicity of the Scottish Labour leader, who is of Pakistani descent. Sarwar lauded the result and says people voted for a government in which they believe. Take a listen in.
Incredible result, and I think it demonstrates that something is happening right across Scotland. Look, I'm going to reflect not just on the result, but the conversations I've been having on the doorstep. And I think it's obvious that people do want a UK Labour government to go further and faster and improve in their lives, but they also want an end to this SNP government that has done so much damage to Scotland.
For Labour leader and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, this victory brings a moment of relief. After his general election landslide last year, his party had struggled with the fallout from tax increases, welfare cuts. In a statement, Starmer said, and I'm quoting here, "People in Scotland have once again voted for change." He added, Labour is now poised to turbocharge delivery if voters back the party on both sides of the border next year. And our correspondent getting us this report from London. Take a look.
It was a very close win for Davy Russell, but one that he and Labour are absolutely delighted with. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has hailed the win, and he believes, and Anna Sarwar, the leader of Scottish Labour, believe that when Scottish parliamentary elections happen next year, it means this shows that the Labour Party have a chance of taking power from the SNP, the Scottish nationalists, in that election. And they are doubly delighted because there had been concerns that they could actually come not just second but third in this race behind Reform. Now, Reform, although they didn't beat Labour in this particular by-election, did get around a quarter of the vote, which they say is an incredible achievement.
And switching gears, the impact of the imploding Trump-Musk bromance is expected to be felt beyond planet Earth. What does it hold for NASA and its future space missions? The Musk-Trump feud saw Musk threaten to cut off NASA's use of the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft in a statement that he later retracted. But in case the tech billionaire goes through with that threat, NASA will suffer a huge blow. Not only will the space agency be deprived of the use of the only American vehicle capable of transporting astronauts to the International Space Station, but it will also dramatically restrict its access to the $100 billion orbiting lab. Not just that, it could also jeopardize space missions like the Axiom space flight that will carry 4 astronauts, including an Indian, to space next week itself. Also, SpaceX's role in multiple federal programs puts the Pentagon and U.S. intelligence agencies at risk. Over the years, SpaceX has been critical in launching sensitive national security payloads like satellites that provide missile warning, battlefield communication, and guide munitions to precise targets. SpaceX is also one of the biggest contractors for NASA, which means if anything, the Trump-Musk feud has done is to expose NASA's vulnerability in a way as well. Another significant impact of the fallout could be on national policy, including major changes to the NASA budget and its ambitions of sending astronauts to the moon. All said and done, the immediate question for NASA is how to retain Musk's SpaceX for its key operations in the low Earth orbit, and of course to save its mission moon from falling apart. Switching gears, what started out as an unstoppable alliance between the world's most powerful man and the world's richest has just exploded. And how? Elon Musk and Donald Trump, once bound by power, ambition, billions, are now locked in a public feud that could actually reshape American politics and beyond. Our next story takes a closer look at the meltdown that played out on social media and what happens next after the end of this bromance.
It was the alliance of the century.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
Trump's campaign energy fused with Musk's tech empire.
The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Musk cheered Trump as he was elected president for the second time.
A star is born, Elon. Now he is. Now he's an amazing guy.
Trump gave Musk unprecedented powers, gave him the reins of Doge to save billions of American taxpayers' money.
Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste.
They laughed over dinner, discussed policy at golf resorts, and hailed each other in speeches and memes. And then this happened. Hurling barbs at each other on the social media sites they each own, a bitter end to their unlikely alliance. Trump slammed Musk, says he is disappointed for Musk's continuous attacks on his big, beautiful bill.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair.
Musk continues to fire attack after attack on his X platform, saying Trump wouldn't have won the election without his backing. Trump doubled down by threatening Musk's massive government contracts, including for launching rockets and for the use of Starlink satellite service. Musk then went ballistic. He tweeted, suggesting without evidence that Trump appears in unreleased files related to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was arrested in July 2019 on charges of sex trafficking and died by suicide while awaiting trial.
The bromance that helped shape the 2024 campaign,
digital meme wars and billion-dollar defense deals is no more. What remains is a scorched battlefield and a looming question. What's next? Will Musk throw his weight behind a new candidate or run himself? Or could there be a patch-up? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The US Air Force recently tested a new 500-pound variant of its anti-ship weapon, Quick Sink, dropped from a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. And as the name suggests, the latest evolution of the bomb is designed not just to hit ships, but to sink them. The weapon is based on the Joint Direct Attack Munition, GBU-38 Joint Direct Attack Munition, or JDAM, and it allows US aircraft to carry more bombs per sortie at a fraction of the cost of cruise missiles. Here's how it actually works. Once launched, the bomb uses GPS and onboard sensors to locate a ship, switches to an infrared seeker to lock on, and then explodes just below the waterline, maximizing damage and creating a sinking effect. Let's talk numbers. A Harpoon missile costs $1.4 million. The Quick Sink aims to cost as low as $50,000 per unit. And that's a game changer, especially when bombers can carry dozens at once. A B-2 can carry up to 80 of these 500-pound bombs. F-15 Strike Eagles up to 15 per jet. Even lighter jets like the F-16 Viper can gain more firepower with Quick Sink. The US says it needs this weapon because of China. China has a rapidly growing navy and is currently the largest in the world, with over 370 warships and 2 aircraft carriers. And the US, that considers China its biggest threat, is preparing for a high-stakes standoff in the Indo-Pacific. And the Quick Sink could become a crucial tool in that theater. The US Air Force says building a cheaper stockpile of smart munitions is vital, not just to deter conflict, but to sustain a prolonged war if one breaks out. The war in Ukraine and the conflict in West Asia have only sharpened the thinking. But it's not without trade-offs. Quick Sync lacks the long standoff range of cruise missiles, which basically means that pilots or even drones would need to get closer, which is a risky task, unless it is launched from stealth aircraft like the B-2 or F-35. Still, according to experts, the 500-pound Quick Sync opens up tactical options for the US Air Force, from hitting smaller warships to disrupting enemy supply chains to striking cargo ships in ports or overwhelming coastal defenses. The US Air Force Research Lab called it a new way to rapidly neutralize maritime threats. General David Alvin, the Chief of Staff of the US Air Force, said the new Quick Sync significantly enhances the ability to strike stationary or moving vessels. Whether Quick Sync becomes a frontline weapon or stays a niche tool, it's already influencing military planning, especially as the Pentagon weighs quantity versus quality, cost versus survivability. In an era of great power competition with China, the next war may not be fought with just missiles and ships. The next war will be fought with stealth, sensors, and smart bombs dropped from above.